Hello, welcome back to Town Manager's Corner. My name is Scott Lambiase, and I'm your town manager. We have an exciting new season. This is the first in many episodes this season. We have a lot of new faces, new projects, and new things to talk about around town. Looking forward to it. Today is our first project that we want to talk about. This project that I'm sure you're all familiar with, our Department of Public Works Fire Station construction project. This project has had several iterations. It started off as just a fire station building, and we had a site over on Glenowitz Way that just wasn't going to work out and meet our needs. And we had realized that we also had some problems with our Department of Public Works buildings, and those also needed to be done, and it was critical. So we went to town meeting and we combined the projects. And we found a new site, a site that works for all of our needs and future needs. And we've changed the committee. So today with me is the chairman of our newer committee, the DPW Fire Station Building Committee, Shawn Reilly, who many of you know as our town moderator, but today he is here as the chairman of the committee. And welcome, Shawn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Scott.
So I think maybe we'll probably start off with where are we today in this project?
So, as you said, after the town meeting took that vote in October 2023 to move forward with it, you set up a new building committee because the prior building committee, the fire station building committee, had focused just on a new fire station. This new committee has the job of building a DPW building, a fire station building on a site next to the police station. So there's a lot of coordination. We got a great committee. We have it's a 5-member committee that you appointed. Derek Kamadi, who is a firefighter who was on the previous committee, so he brings the history forward into this new committee. Gordon Slaney, who is a professional engineer, architect. He's been great, a resident of town. Bob Persicchini, who has a HVAC background, knows a lot about the nuts and bolts of buildings.
Which is sometimes one of the most complicated parts of every new project.
He's been a godsend, especially now as we move forward in the details of the buildings. And then our 5th member, in addition to myself, was Roger Woods. Roger just stepped down because he's now on the Board of Selectmen. He's got a lot of things to do, so Alex Bezanson was just appointed. So that's our 5-member committee. Very productive committee. We've got a great set of architects and engineers. We've had a lot of great input from our DPW representatives and our fire station representatives. They're there at all the meetings. And it has been a challenge at times, but also I think we're moving forward very successfully.
And that biggest challenge has been fitting the needs of 2 existing large operations into these new facilities on this existing parcel of land.
Right. We were asking the DPW to use less of the parcel that they currently use. We're trying to make sure that we have the police station, fire station, and DPW, so we're going to have a nice public safety complex. But each of those 3 departments and buildings, although they have a lot of things that they work together in, each building is a completely different use. So we are looking at things from different angles and different eyepieces. The fire station, is going to be, we're going to shut down the 2 fire stations at Bedford Street and Rockland Street, and now have a central fire station on Central Street. And then the DPW building, which is parts of the existing structures are 1940s era buildings. They'll have a new barn and office area out to the rear of the building, and the police station obviously will stay where it is. It's been a good project. We meet almost every month, if not twice a month, and we're going to continue to do so. We feel pretty confident right now that we are within budget. We're going to have another professional cost estimate sometime by the end of September, which will give us a good snapshot of where we are, if we have to keep trimming or if we have enough room to breathe and go out to bid. So it's an exciting project, but we're also trying to be mindful of spending the taxpayers' money wisely and efficiently so that these buildings not only will address the current needs of the DPW and the fire station, but we also have, wherever we can have room for future expansion, because as the town continues to grow, we're going to need another, more firemen, more firefighters, I should say, more employees of the DPW, the vehicles. I mean, the fire equipment, the rescue equipment, and the DPW equipment are probably the most expensive equipment the town owns. So we need to protect the equipment.
And that has probably, as you said, has probably been the largest challenge of this committee to date is making sure that all the current needs are met and future needs. And I think, and I will say with the designs that we're going to show, I think the committee's done an amazing job, the architectural firm and our engineering firms and our own as project manager. They've all come together to give us what I think is going to be an amazing project. We did take, town meeting did take a piece of land that we are going to utilize now to relocate the fuel facility. We have an underground fuel tank that our insurance company and DEP have all kind of said, that's beyond its useful time. We went to town meeting and we asked about relocating that, and that's actually one of the phases of this project.
Yeah, that actually, the timing couldn't have been better for our committee, because that, as you mentioned, that underground fuel tank has to be replaced regardless of whether we move forward with the new fire station and new DPW. So town meeting had a separate vote to do just that. And that will be part of our phase one, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. So that will be taken care of. We have to remove the existing fuel. And that fuel island, just for viewers at home don't know, it's behind the DPW buildings. You can actually see it from Central Street. But that services all the town departments, police cruisers, fire vehicles, DPW, any sort of vehicle.
Any administrative vehicles.
Exactly, right. In inspectors' cars, things like that. So we're trying to coordinate making sure that stays operational and in place, along with winter storm needs to make sure that during this whole construction project, we can still plow the roads. The police department can operate as they do on the site, even though we're going to be building all around them.
Yeah, and that's another challenge that, I guess we should probably get into is how are we going to be able to keep the continuity of operations while we pretty much demolish everything around it.
Well, let's I guess, if you don't mind, let's show the viewers at home some of the pictures or the drawings of the existing renderings of the buildings, and these are still being tweaked every month. We're working on fine-tuning and make it more efficient. So if we start with like the new DPW building, there's a view of it right there. This will be out to the back of the existing DPW site. If you look beyond the back of that building, that would be the Mount Vernon Cemetery, and to the left of the building is the driveway that leads into the cemetery from Central Street. So this would be the new DPW building. You can see with the three large garage bay doors, and that smaller lower area is their office area. And in the back corner, which you don't see, is their workstation area. There's a lot of things that get taken care of at the DPW. They're kind of like they do it all. Whatever another department doesn't do, they do it.
They are the backbone of the operations here.
Right.
Keeping the streets clear and safe and passable, and keeping the buildings and the grounds. And
there's another view of it. And here's an example of where the buildings are different in different uses. The 3 garage bays for the DPW doesn't mean that we're going to park 3 trucks or 6 trucks. The DPW really just sandwiches all their vehicles and equipments inside that large building. And they just use the doors, obviously, to pull out the trucks that they need on whatever project they're working with. So they're looking for floor space and trying to maximize it by, they literally park the trucks 2 feet away from each other, as they do now. But this now is a more efficient layout for the DPW. We've got a lot of great feedback from Director John Stone and his assistant, Brian McLaughlin. Whereas the fire department, you don't park the trucks 2 feet away from each other. It's just a different use. So they have to have designated bays where the trucks are kept separately, and because it's just a different function. So we have a view of the fire station building, which again will be up to the front on Central Street, right off of Central Street. That's a view kind of looking, if you're standing where the current basketball courts are, looking towards the left, towards the Mount Vernon driveway entrance. The fire station will be located 60 feet off of Central Street, just along the Mount Vernon Cemetery entrance driveway.
And that's currently where the current building,
the current DPW building, the 1940 building and garage.
building.
So this will be a nice improvement. You can see the public entrance there on the near side. The corner office there is, of course, appropriately the chief. So they have the brick on the bottom, and we'll have some sort of material up on the top. Up on the top is the living quarters for the fire department. Again, a different use of a building. The DPW guys don't sleep in their building. The fire department, they do. So we have a lot of one of the things we've been stressing throughout for both buildings and the site layout itself is safety. Safety for our town employees. There's a lot of issues, especially within the fire department, with the off-gassing, when they return from incidents. So there's a lot of safety things built into this building, which is standard, normal, and frankly required.
And things that we don't currently
have
in our existing buildings, and it's
significant
not fair to our
concern.
employees. We have to take care of them.
It is, and I think we might have one more shot of the fire department where you'll see the bays as you look from the Central Street view. We have 5 bays, and they're double deep bays, so you'll be able to park 2 vehicles in each bay, or a total of 10 vehicles. And there's the shot right there. Now looking again from Central Street, so those vehicles will exit right onto Central Street, but they can also pull around the back and come in through the rear garage door, or it depends on what the fire department wants to do. They might be exiting from the back of the fire station. They'll have the flexibility.
Yep.
And you can see we're using the glass doors and some windows above for just the free light. So we don't have to have the lights on all day, every day.
Right.
So it's been, I have to say, it's been a project where, the fire department wants to make sure they have as much as they can get in with the 38.5, and the DPW wants to get as much as they can. So I want to thank both departments for basically lobbying for themselves, telling us what they really need and what they want, and we're trying to get as much into these buildings, the biggest bang for our buck as possible. And we have a pretty good feeling for the budget right now.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of work. The committee's done an amazing job. And as you said, both departments have been great advocates for what they need, and they've also been very good at what they don't need, and telling us that addressing concerns I think that the public may have, that we are overbuilding or creating, as they like to label things, as Taj Mahals, and the committee has been really good about working with each department just to make sure that we met the needs, we met the current needs, and there is some room there for any future needs that might come up.
It would be, frankly, I think, a waste if we built a building only for today and had no room to expand. If we hired 1 or 2 more people and you had no place to put them, that's not a good investment for the town. So we are looking at that. At the same time, we're not going to build a building that's twice as big as we need it.
No.
Even if we had the money, it wouldn't be a good investment for the town.
Absolutely.
We're not going to waste taxpayers' money. And that's pretty much the role of the committee, is to try to do the best job we can. So
should we talk about sort of the phasing part of this now, and how we're going to accomplish this mega feat?
This issue has taken up a lot of time, is how do we coordinate construction and keeping the police station open and active, and moving the fuel station and the salt shed and all. So with your guidance as town manager, the building committee has met, time and time again with our professionals, and we've broken this project into 2 phases, phase 1, phase 2. Phase 1, we kind of alluded to earlier, is to dismantle the existing fuel station and build the new fuel station so it's up and running, and to build the new salt shed so that's up and running. So those 2 things would be part of phase 1. And those 2 items, the fuel station and the salt shed, are going to be located to the far right and rear of the existing site. Scott alluded to the property that we purchased, the town purchased, located to the right of the police station, and that's been a godsend, because that area will now be a new driveway off of Plymouth Street that leads out back to the right rear corner of the site, where you'll have the fuel station, and in the far right rear corner will be the new salt shed. Once those are up and operational, then we can move on to phase 2, which would be the demolition of all of the existing DPW buildings, moving everything off site, and the construction of the new fire station and DPW building. We have to have that fuel station up and running first before we start demolition. We have to have that salt shed up and running, because this project is going to take about 2 years to build out, and we need to have access to the salt during the winter snowstorms. We didn't want to go build a salt shed temporarily off-site somewhere, only to have to pay to dismantle it and build another one. So I think this came out to be a very cost-effective way of doing it. And our thought is we are going out to bid for this phase 1 work, the fuel station, the new driveway, and the salt shed, this fall, with hope that it will be completed by the late spring of 2025. which would, while that is being built, we would go out to bid for phase 2 in early 2025, and that phase 2 would be demolition of the existing DPW, construction of the new fire station and new DPW building. That would go out to bid in the spring of 2025, and construction would start sometime late spring, summer of 2025, and we'd hope to open up the doors and have a big celebration early 2027.
That's all.
That's if all the bids come in within our budget. That's if there's no unforeseen changes. These are things that the building committee will kind of keep monitoring. If we don't get a good cost estimate in September of 2024, we'll go back and kind of squeeze into this project as much as we can and then go get another cost estimate, which would push our bidding back by a couple of months. So you'll have to stay tuned. We'll try to keep people updated on our town website. And we're very anxious to get moving because we desperately need to replace the 1960s fire stations and the 1940s DPW and really create this public safety complex.
Yeah, and it's important to note that the architectural firm Castle Blues and Weston Sampson and our owner's project manager Pomeroy Associates, these folks have built many projects like this. It's as complicated as it may seem, they've done these things. They've done, like I said, countless numbers of them. There are contingency factors that are built in. There's escalation factors. There are assumptions that are made for the fact that we're building this out over a long period. So those factors are all in there.
Right.
Anything can still happen.
Yeah.
But again, I'm very confident with the team that we have together. So I'm looking forward to that estimate coming in next month.
The experience at KBA and Weston & Sampson and our owner's project manager Pomeroy, I've been very impressed with. They're our eyes and ears throughout the design, but also during construction. They're on site every day, making sure that we get what we paid for. So Pomeroy Associates has been great to work with. To your point, things could happen nationally, internationally, that could affect our budget. I mean, it's true for every construction project, but if a war breaks out and the price of oil shoots through the roof, petroleum-based products are going to go up. And we have a lot of asphalt on this property, a lot of PVC piping, petroleum-based materials that could really drive up prices.
Everything gets shipped. Everything gets
exactly.
delivered. Everything is manufactured.
That could stall this project.
Anything.
If we're able to get out to bid before anything tragic like that might happen, then that's great for Abington because we can lock in a price. But we should mention too that when it does come time for demolition of the DPW, they have to move all that equipment off site. So our plan is to store their equipment, their plow blades, their pieces of the Island Grove docks, their traffic cones, up at the North School on a temporary basis during construction. It'll be fenced off, it'll be nice and neat as possible. They'll park some of the trucks up there, but they're not going to have any operations or offices up there. It's just to store the materials off-site because we have to basically level the Central Street site to get started with construction.
And we also have a plan, and we've been talking about the relocation of the basketball courts.
Yeah.
Very important to us. We know that they do some street hockey there and basketball. So we are looking, we actually received an earmark. Thank you to Allison Sullivan Almeida, our representative, and to Senator Keenan's actually. We received multiple earmarks this year, and one of them that Representative Almeida was really good at helping us get was money to look at designing at the end of Glenowitz Way for youth recreation. So that would be my hopes of where we relocate the basketball courts to. And we want to do that as early as possible because they do get quite a bit of use.
They do, and there may be a gap between when we have to take out the old ones and put in the new ones, but I'm glad to know that the town is moving forward. That some of the stuff is beyond our building committee's control, but those are things where we've been reaching out to others to try to say, hey, we're doing this, so you might want to think about doing that, and let's try to get as coordinated as possible. And so if we could show that, there's a picture we have of the site as it's laid out right now. And again, this is everything we're showing you is kind of a work in progress, so nothing is locked solid. But it's progressed enough that there's not going to be a lot of changes.
I would venture to guess that we're probably at 90%
Yeah.
at this point with what you're seeing, and there's probably some finishes here and there, and obviously green spaces and bushes and
Yeah.
things like that that'll get added as we go.
And we should add too, and there's a shot of what the site would look like if you're looking again above. There's the fire department that you're looking at. The building to the back, the far back, is the new DPW building. And if you see the two lower gray buildings that kind of look to the middle right, those are the existing buildings there. The larger one is the vehicle maintenance building where the DPW's guys, they basically maintain all the town vehicles, the fire trucks, the police cruisers, the DPW. That's where all of the repairs are made. The smaller building behind that is a police station storage garage. So again, those are things we have to work around and kind of incorporate into our project. But that kind of shows you Central Street is the street that's running on the bottom left-hand side. So you can see the fire department is, again, about 60 feet back. We have to have 60 feet because you got to be able to pull the trucks out in front and have enough room on the apron to either turn around or just even to bring them outside to do any sort of maintenance or washing and whatnot. There's a lot of pavement out here, but frankly, there already is a lot of pavement on this site.
Yeah.
What we're putting in is new pavement, but more importantly, we're putting in new stormwater management systems. We're putting in catch basins and drainage so that it will collect any rainwater. If there is, anything that's, dirty for the environment, it will be collected and cleaned before it's discharged anywhere. So it'll be a much cleaner, safer site when it's all said and done. The far back of the site will be an open yard area, much like exists now. And that's where the DPW will store their piles of gravel and rock, whatever it is they need. What you can't see to the right of this shot would be, again, the police station, and to the right rear of the police station would be the new salt shed and the fuel island.
And what we, probably should mention is that also that that we're following the same rules that any other developer would have to follow as far as stormwater management. We have to have a certain amount of green space by the bylaw, by the zoning bylaw requires it. So we're following all that. And keeping in mind that this is a, again, this is the backbone of the operations here, so to speak. There's a lot of large, heavy pieces of equipment that need to come in, come out. They need to have plenty of room for multiple vehicles, whether it's fire, plow trucks, sanding trucks. There's a lot of things that'll be going on at one time. So it does require a lot of space. And
yeah, maneuverability of the largest vehicles that we own, so you will see a lot of clearance. And we do have like a video presentation, an aerial view that we can show you in just a second that kind of might give you another view. And all of these pictures, this information is available on the webpage. This is the aerial that our architects put together, so you can see the pond across the street. It's a poor rendering of Island Grove, but this is now the rear looking from the cemetery, so you can see the back of our project. The DPW there to your left right now. You can see the fire station up front, and the police station obviously where it currently exists. So that's the overview of the site from above. And then you'll see this takes us down. There's the new driveway we're going to build in phase 1 on the right. You'll enter in that new driveway to get out back. This would be the fire department would come here, the DPW would come here, the police would come here. Here's the new fuel station will look something like this. It hasn't been specifically designed, with the new salt shed out to the back rear. And then as you loop around the back of the building, you head right towards the new DPW building with the open yard space on your right, which we're crossing over right now as we speak. A little parking and storage area out back behind the DPW building. There's their offices. Again, their garage building, which right there, which will be able to put all of the most expensive vehicles will be stored in that garage. There'll also be dedicated storage outside the building for other materials. Then as we spin around and look, we see the rear of the fire station. You can see the rear entry garage doors, parking for some of our employees. And as we come, now you're in the police station front parking lot, which is enlarged to include more parking near the public entrance for the fire station. And as we come back out to Central Street, you'll see the front of the fire station. Again, some more parking out front, really for the chief and for if you had an emergency and had to pull into the fire station. There's actually going to be an EMS room there to treat someone who had an injury coming right off the street. And you can see the 5 overhead doors there, which will house the emergency equipment from Abington's finest. So if you want to look at that again, I think you can see that on the town website. If you go to abingtonma.gov and find your way to the DPW and fire station webpage, you'll see all that information. And again, we're going to continue to tweak it, but I think we're all pretty excited about where we are.
Yeah, I think we're in a great place. Again, we're excited to see that estimate come in. Important to note that we've had an estimate. We realized where we had to make concessions and cuts. We've done that. We went through a great exercise to get to that point. So we're fairly confident that the estimate coming in is going to be right where we expect it to be.
Yeah. And again, I want to thank both the members of the fire department and the DPW, because we've had to take some stuff away that they wish we didn't have to do. And so they've tried to find ways to be more efficient with what we can spend the tax dollar on. And I think they've done a great job literally every 2 or 3 weeks. And our architects continue to do it even without us asking for that. They just kind of say, hey, we tweak this, we move this room, we combine these rooms, we move this door. It's going to be a little more little less expensive and a little more efficient. And that's why KBA and Weston Sampson, why we hired them, because they've done a lot of this type of work in municipalities all across the state. And we just have to wait for the cost estimates and then wait for the bids.
Wait for the bids. It's,
public bidding,
the tail
joy.
of the tape, so to speak.
It is. So stay tuned. We'll try to keep pumping information as we progress more and more. We'll know a lot more in late fall of this year as to where phase 1 is. And if when the time comes to start moving things to North School, we're going to send an alert out to the neighbors near North School, just so they're aware of what's going on and what's not going on there. Really just a storage area. And the DPW office will, during all of the construction, will still remain down at the corner of Summer Street and Progress Street as it presently is located. So it'll be exciting, but the hardest work is still before us.
Yeah, we got a ways to go, for sure. All right. Well, anything else you want to let people know? I mean, all this information, like we said, will be on the website. We'll continue to update the website as the committee meets, as new information comes in. If you are not subscribed to the town newsletter, I would highly recommend that you do subscribe to the town newsletter. You can find information on the town website, because we will put updates in our quarterly newsletter also. We also have an app. If you're not aware of that, you can find information on that. The app is for the town of Abington. You'll find information on that and how to get that on our website also.
Well, I think we could talk for 2 hours about this, but people will turn the channel. So they can go to the website and get a lot of information there, and like we said, we'll continue to add information. And it's an exciting project. We understand that taxpayers are very concerned about the cost of it. We are too. I want people to know that, and we're trying to do our best. If we're able to build 2 buildings on a new site for $38.5 million, then the town of Abington should be pretty proud, because other towns have had to spend a lot more money to do less than what we're proposing to do, but we're doing our best. Yeah, and it puts the town in a very good position, because I think that for the most part, our building inventory is going to be very up to date. Yeah. Obviously we have some older buildings that we're chasing some problems with, but for the most part, we'll be in good shape for the future. Yeah, I mean, obviously I support the project, but I think these 2 buildings were more of a need than a want. Oh, absolutely. It is something the town had to face and had to make a decision, and the town did vote to support it. All right, well, very good. That's a wrap on this edition of Town Manager's Corner. Thank you to Shawn Reilly for joining us and giving us all this information. Stay tuned for some future episodes. We have plenty more to come this season, and thank you.